Since I ended the mechanical royalties on interactive streaming royalties, I'm going to start the public performance royalties with non-interactive streaming royalties. Non-interactive meaning you don't get to choose which song you're going to listen to. You can select the station, and the selection of songs are chosen then by that station's director, program director, or music director. Non-interactive stations or webcasts are like listening to your regular terrestrial radio stations from your car on the internet. Most terrestrial stations have internet radio, and you also have stations like iHeartRadio, Pandora, or satellite radio such as Sirius XM. Non-interactive streaming stations on television such as Music Choice, these all require digital public performance licenses for the right to publicly digitally perform the sound recording. In the United States, labels, sound recording owners, and featured artists use Sound Exchange to license, collect, and distribute these royalties on their behalf. Now, if you live outside of the United States, you need to sign up with your neighboring rights organization in your territory to collect those royalties. Those neighboring rights organizations will work with Sound Exchange in the U.S. to collect the royalties from here. And Sound Exchange works with neighboring rights organizations outside of the United States to collect the non-interactive streaming royalties from sound recordings from outside of the U.S. Sound Exchange is a performing rights organization, but for the digital public performances of sound recordings, representing artists and labels. 45% of those royalties go to the artist, and 50% to the sound recording owners. 5% is held for non-featured artists, background singers, musicians, and session players. In order for you to get those royalties, if you record it for a label that's a member of the American Federation of Musicians or the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, then you would qualify for those royalties. Producers who have negotiated relationships with artists can receive some of the Sound Exchange featured artist royalties, but the artist would have to fill out certain paperwork and then sign a letter of direction for Sound Exchange to pay a percentage of those featured artist royalties to producers and even to mix engineers. If you live outside of the United States, neighboring rights organizations, besides collecting the digital public performance rights for sound recordings, they also collect royalties from music played on terrestrial radio, on television, in movies, and other public performance venues. The United States does not pay public performance royalties for music and movies unless those movies are broadcast on television or other audio media. This leads me back to the United States for public performance royalties, where performing rights organizations ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Global Music Rights, or GMR, are the performing rights organizations that collect performance royalties from all public venues that plays music. If your music is played on traditional or terrestrial radio stations, on television, in commercials, live performances, live concerts, played in bars, nightclubs, grocery stores, any public venue, they're supposed to get licenses from these performing rights organizations, which will allow them to play any songs out of all of those performing rights organizations' catalog. When the performing rights organization surveys and tracks the public venues, then if your music happens to be played while they are being surveyed, then the publisher and the songwriter will receive those royalties. Some stations, network television, different venues get surveyed for everything that's played. What a beautiful day it will be when everything that's played from every venue will automatically produce those royalties. You need to join as a songwriter either one of these performing rights organizations, ASCAP or BMI. Now, CSAC and GMR, you have to be invited to join those. If you choose ASCAP as your performing rights organization, then you'll also need to set up your publishing company with ASCAP in order to receive the publishing royalties. That's if you're self-administering and or have an admin publisher. If you are signed to a music publisher, you won't need to set up a publishing company unless you have a co-publishing deal with a music publisher. If you choose BMI as your PRO, you won't necessarily have to set up a publishing company. You will receive those publishing royalties. If you have a music publishing administrator, whether it's through Centric, Songtrust, Audium, TuneCore Publishing, or any other business entity, they'll take care of all of your song registrations. So you definitely need to sign up with either ASCAP or BMI. Both ASCAP and BMI have created the opportunity to earn additional royalties through ASCAP on stage and BMI live, meaning anytime you play your songs live or cover music, all you need to do is submit the set list for those songs at your PRO to be reviewed for extra royalties. Songwriters are required to submit these set lists to ASCAP or BMI instead of the music publishers. PROs license what is known as non-dramatic works or small rights, meaning the songs are broadcast or performed. Songs that are written to tell stories, such as in operas or oratorios or musicals, songs and music that's performed on Broadway, or non-Broadway performances such as stage plays or ballets. These types of works are called grand performance rights, also known as grand rights. They depict dramatical musical works. These licenses are usually negotiated between the music publisher and the user or the songwriter. And there are many different factors that go into what those negotiations consist of. It could be the size of the venue. How many seats will there be? What's the scope of the presentation? How long will it last? How many performances will there be? This could be one song, a group of songs, a book of songs. That's completed. The licensee also has to get approval as well. Even if you're using a song that's categorized by a PRO as a small right, but then you take the song and choreograph music to it, or you stage a set around it, you're supposed to get a grand rights license to do that. And again, you can take a dramatic work, let's say a Broadway musical, and take a song out of that play that tells a story and do a live performance of one of those songs with no stage or scene action from the play without the dialogue. It then can be considered as a small right or non-dramatic work.